Welcome to episode number 285 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording on October 19, 2019. You can find us by searching for Beyond Social Media Show. We have a ton of things to talk about this week, including new prints and old prints, pixelated Leibovitz, job descriptions, Facebook oversight, LinkedIn events, free education, AMC streaming, Amazon pay to play, alphas, and a lot more. And BL kicks it off as she does every week with the best story of the week. BL, what do you got?
Well, this one's for you, Dave. Today's the 40th anniversary of Prince's eponymous album. I never knew how to pronounce that word before. To celebrate Prince's estate, dropped an acoustic solo version of Prince singing I Feel For You when he was 20 years old. And it's him on an acoustic guitar back in the winter of 1978-79. And it turned up on a cassette in their massive recording archives. And it starts out, this is the coolest thing, it starts out with the sound of him pressing the record button on a cassette tape player and then picking up an acoustic guitar, and you can hear all that. So it's available on streaming services, and there's a limited run 7-inch vinyl, which I'll have to get for you.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're starting to release music from the vault.
There's lots more.
And there's a ton more. You can do tours of Paisley Park, his home and recording studio here in Minnesota. And one of the things on the tour is you get to obviously see his recording studios and everything where he made his music, but they play a song for you from the vault. So the one that I heard was a jazz. He loves jazz, so he has a bunch of jazz recordings that haven't been released. And if you listen to his music, you can hear a lot of jazz in it, even the funky stuff. But it was brilliant. It was just wonderful to hear and exciting to hear something that hasn't been released yet too. So,
I'll bet.
Cool. Well,
So
this is
new prints. You have some old prints.
I
right?
do have some old prints. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, so it's a little bit of an old story. But this is from Star Tribune's music critic John Bream, who has a story about Buddy Holly and Roy Orbison recently performed a concert at Mystic Lake Casino here in Minnesota, like a couple of weeks ago.
Despite their being dead.
They performed as life-size holograms, and they're accompanied by a live band. So hologram concerts are a growing trend. You may remember that Tupac Shakur appeared during Snoop Dogg's set at Coachella in 2012. Michael Jackson appeared at Billboard Music Awards. Ronnie James Dio, you know who Ronnie James Dio is, BL?
Can't say I do.
Heavy metal singer.
That's why.
sang with Black Sabbath for a while. And I actually saw him in concert. Ronnie James Dio rocked the Myth Club in Maplewood, Minnesota here over the summer. Opera diva Maria Callas, I don't know who that is, but she is on tour.
An opera singer.
Yeah, she's on tour with a 50-piece orchestra. Frank Zappa is jamming out as a hologram. Whitney Houston, there's a Whitney Houston hologram tour with 18 singers and dancers slated for 2020. And the families of Amy Winehouse and Prince have had discussions about similar tours, according to the article. The article cites a Minneapolis entertainment lawyer, Ken Abdo, who wrote in the trade journal Variety, quote, "To me, it's the next billion-dollar music business. Holograms can protect and perhaps immortalize artists' legacies, keep audiences in venues, introduce younger generations to the artists, provide continued protection for artists' intellectual property, and create a revenue stream for artists' estates." He even sees potential for living artists. So Taylor Swift.
They stay home.
They could, well, exactly. But basically saying that they could place modest-sized markets that they wouldn't otherwise play. So do a tour of you people in the nosebleed seats who we don't really can't make the economics of a concert tour work for smaller venues. Or more interestingly, from a marketing perspective, a star with a perfume line, for example, could make holograph appearances at stores. So it could, it could very well, with enough creativity and imagination, be a marketing, experiential marketing tactic as well. But as a fan, I never, as a Minnesota, maybe one of the only Minnesotans who had never seen Prince in concert. I had an opportunity to go and see him jam at Paisley Park, basically a practice session, but I didn't, and forever that's going to forever be the regret of my life. But I would go and see Prince as a hologram.
Well, I don't know how three-dimensional it appears.
Yeah, the article goes into some depth of describing the technology behind it, and I mean, they're making money, so it must be good enough to satisfy music fans. So we'll see.
Let's hope so. So I think that there is a brilliant example of marketing by Google for the Pixel 4, which I'm seriously considering. And what they've done is they hooked up with Annie Leibovitz, who's a legendary photographer, and she's got a Pixel 4, and what she's doing is she's shooting a series of extraordinary people who are trying to work for change. And so this story was on the Google blog, and the pictures show these people who are defined by their desire to make the world a better place. And she shot them in various situations and also included a video about each one with the camera. All she uses is the Pixel 4. And she said, I wanted to challenge myself to shoot with the camera that's always in your pocket. And I wonder how much you got paid. And I'd heard so much about the Pixel, and I was intrigued. And the people she photographed include the soccer player Megan Rapinoe, equal justice lawyer Brian Stevenson, an artist named James Turrell, a journalist named Noor Tagore, a hip-hop activist whose name I cannot pronounce, and Army officer Sarah Zorn, and then a global health scientist named Jack Andraka. And the series is called Face Forward, and it will continue to expand as she continues to use the camera. And in the tutorial for the camera, there's, because you can wave at the camera, at the phone to get it to turn on. In the tutorial, there's a Pokemon, and you wave and it waves back at you, and then you can tickle it and it laughs. So. But I mean, I think that's brilliant marketing on their part. I really do, to hook up with somebody who's such an iconic photographer. And, I would imagine she got paid a pretty penny for that. And not that long ago, she had some personal troubles that included bankruptcy. So I would imagine she was more than willing to do this, but her photography is extraordinary.
Well, you couldn't have a better spokesperson for demonstrating. I mean, your smartphone, your cell phone these days is, I think people do more on it than make phone calls these days. You are taking pictures, you're taking videos, you're checking out social media and checking stuff online, and sending email. You're usually communicating via social and email more than actually doing using the telephone. But photography is a huge part of it, and a big reason why people buy cell phones. So having her as a spokesperson is, you couldn't have a better one.
But I think most kids would say that thing makes calls, really?
Yeah, right. I have a friend who recorded his two children in a secondhand store that sells here in town that sells junk, basically. But there were some phones, rotary dial phones, and he has a video of, so what do you think those are? Telephone? Yeah. How do you use them? And they could not figure out how to use them.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. Well, the big advance then was when we got push button phones.
Exactly. No.
Well, I was ready for these, but I'm in the market for a new phone, so I'm seriously thinking about the Pixel 4. My sister got one and she loves it.
Yeah, I've thought about it too. So phones have evolved very much over the years, and job descriptions are starting to evolve as well. This is from a Wall Street Journal article by Chip Cutter, who reports that companies are revamping how they write their job descriptions because of the tight job market. And they're adding like a greater level of detail. They're tweaking language to entice a broader range of applicants. The article cites a Chicago startup called Rise Science, who had a job posting that was basically a 1,600-word letter from their company CEO. So basically an open letter to anybody who wants to apply for a particular job. It cites employers like Expedia and Cisco, who use software to adjust the wording of their postings to attract a diverse mix of candidates, and says that even small tweaks to language can determine who applies. So this will not be surprising. Phrases such as digital native and passion for social media and job postings can discourage older applicants from applying. Expedia said they saw benefit of highlighting data science in their job descriptions, but then noticed as the data science became a buzzword that that approach lost its effectiveness. So they're continuing to tweak the language, and then the tone as well matters. Gender neutral language attracts a higher quality candidates, and they fill them 5 days faster, according to Expedia. There's another company that had found that candidates that when they had language that said candidates that possess a love of learning and analytical skills, they got more women to apply. So this is fascinating from just a communication standpoint, but also, I mean, I've done work with companies that are trying to track candidates through video and doing basically content marketing for
candidates,
talent acquisition, and you know, the people are taking a lot of different approaches than they have in the past. That's good.
That's interesting, really, but I think there's also language that easily eliminates a lot of people.
Yep. That's something you've got to be very careful about. Exactly.
Yeah, the 3 to 10 years of experience, 3 to 5 years of experience means don't bother if you've got 10 years of experience or more. And you see, you know, and there'll be like a 4,000-word description of what they want you to do, and you know, with 3 to 5 years of experience, as if. But anyway.
Well, what happens is companies, big companies that don't want to get a zillion, I mean, they do have a problem with volume because they'll get a zillion applicants for any job that they post if they're a huge company. They use that type of language specifically to reduce the volume of the applications that they get. It's you know, it's a legitimate concern. They can't handle all the volume, but then smaller companies go and get those job descriptions when they need to fill a similar position. They basically copy those job descriptions and post those job descriptions without realizing why something was written. So they risk not getting the number of candidates the quality of candidates that they might want.
That's well, my cousin recently advertised for a job, and she, you know, was a secretary, and she got 300 responses, you know, from LinkedIn alone. And that's a lot for a small company. Yeah. But anyway, I was at a very interesting meeting this week, and it was the National Institute of Social Sciences, and the subject was the power and the peril of social media in society. And one of the things that they said that I'm still laughing about is that, isn't it ironic that Zuckerberg, the king of social media, is himself socially inept? But anyway, this week, Kara Swisher had an editorial in the New York Times, and she was talking about the new oversight board that Facebook is going to have. And she said, finally, they have a good idea. So this independent board is going to judge appeals from users on material that's been taken down by the company, and it'll review policy decisions that the company has submitted to the board. So there's more to this than the usual, we're sorry, the Zuckerberg, I'm so sorry, we'll do better. The new idea is different than what came before, and also a very big undertaking. And the oversight board will eventually have 40 part-time members with a staggered 3-year terms, and they're renewable for 9 years. So they're kind of like going to be the Supreme Court of Facebook, and they'll be funded through a trust paid for by Facebook. So Kara Swisher says paying for all the big brains who are needed to pull this off is another challenge, because Facebook plans to foot the bill for the judges, and there's no way of getting around the fact that the project has the feeling of a payoff. Can judges who are paid, even if they're indirectly paid by Facebook, be neutral? But the leadership of Facebook says they hope that dropping an unspecified amount of dough through an irrevocable grant into a trust that it can't touch will actually bring about change. We'll see.
The operative words there. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was my favorite quote at this meeting the other day, and that had academics and journalists, and my favorite was David Pogue of the New York Times, and he said, "The nasty stuff is human nature, and it seems unfair to blame social media." So maybe he's right. But the bottom line of this meeting was what we talk about here all the time. You have to start teaching digital literacy in kindergarten, because that's the responsibility of society, is to teach digital literacy at this point.
Yeah, good point. I got some numbers at the end that is applicable to that too. So we'll talk about that. Two stories here about basically free education. The first one is from TechCrunch's Jonathan Schieber, who writes about Udacity, which is an online education company that is launching a new scholarship. The company is committed to giving away free introductory technology training classes to 20,000 applicants every year. The classes are focused on teaching front-end web development, mobile app development, data analytics. There are no prerequisites for the applicants, but the scholarships are reserved for low-income individuals who want to learn programming languages, the programming skills. I should note that it is part of the Pledge to America's Workers, which is a job training initiative undertaken by the Trump administration. So take that for what it's worth. On another initiative, though, ZDNet's Liam Tung writes about Microsoft, who has launched a new 44-part series on YouTube called Python for Beginners on YouTube. And it consists of 3 to 4 minute lessons from two self-described geeks at Microsoft who love programming and teaching. The courses assume that people have a little bit of programming knowledge in like playing with JavaScript or playing around with MIT's Scratch visual programming language, which is aimed at kids. It has published a page on GitHub that contains additional resources like slides and code samples, but it's a free course on Python. So the benefit, obviously, to Microsoft is that they get more people more Python developers using their products. But that's pretty amazing.
I think that's a wonderful thing, but the caveat here is that people who've been laid off from industrial jobs, many of them don't want to learn programming. Many of them, are just not interested. So who's going to partake? It remains to be seen. A lot of stuff here remains to be seen,
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta want to. So if they don't want to, then can't force them to do it. But
right, but it's nice that it's available,
yeah.
and definitely a step in the right direction. Yeah. No two ways about that. I have no more good news.
All right, I got one more. This is from Fortune's Chris Morris, who writes about AMC Theaters, which has launched a quote-unquote streaming service to allow people to watch films at home. It offers 2,000 films for sale or rent after their theatrical runs. So it's not really a streaming service. It's more like a movie rental service online. It's like Netflix in that you can watch it on the web and everything, but it's not a subscription service. You pay per per movie. They've struck deals with the 5 largest studios: Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, Sony, and Paramount. And to offer a catalog of the new releases, again, they will not offer anything that's currently in theaters. But if you want to rent it, the rentals run from $3 to $6 per movie, and purchasing costs between $10 and $20. And the article didn't say, and I don't know because I don't buy movies in this day and age because it's media, and so what am I buying? Am I buying a file? Where am I going to put it?
Right.
Whatever. The films are only available to U.S. audiences, but I thought it was an interesting development in the quote unquote streaming wars.
Well, the other thing that AMC is doing, and that I'm considering strongly, is for $23 a month, you can go to the movies as many times as you want, free. And you can make your reservations online and pick your seats online. And I went into the theater and I said, wait, do I have to pay something beyond this $23? And he said, no, that includes all the movies. So it's kind of like Movie Pass was, except twice the price, but only AMC theaters. And, if you go to the movies twice a month, it's worth doing. So I haven't done it yet, but I think I will. And so that's so much cheaper. And then they're trying to do something on the other hand that you just described, that why would you do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to see something, there's a difference between the experience of seeing it in the theater and watching it at home. There's definitely a difference in experience. Yeah, it does pay for itself. 2 movies, and you've paid for it. But You're probably going. So, do you buy popcorn? Do you buy pop? Do you buy stuff?
No, I sneak my popcorn in. I have to tell you, I make it at home and I bring it. So I don't do that. But I did get a new TV this week, and I went from like a 19-inch little TV to a 40-inch,
You could possibly survive.
I don't know how I did all these years, but I don't watch that much TV. But oh my God, having a 40-inch TV is like changes your viewing experience like 1,000%.
Yeah,
I'm amazed by it.
40-inch TV, that's tiny.
Well, actually, they make 40-inch anymore. This was one of the last of the 40-inch. Now it's 43.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but I mean that's big enough. It takes up half the dresser.
I have a 55-inch TV in the living room, and then a 40-inch in the bedroom. But I'm surprised. That stuns me that you.
Yeah, but I mean, I would not have a TV in my living room. I mean, I don't want people coming over watching TV.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm on to bad news.
Yeah.
So this is from Ad Age compilation of the week, and it didn't name an editor, but Amazon just released its top holiday toy list, but they didn't bother to say that brands pay up to $2 million to be on it. So they tell customers that Lego, Disney Castle, VTech's Magical Unicorn, and more than 100 other items are thoughtfully curated to help shoppers quickly tackle even the lengthiest shopping lists. But of course, Amazon can sell advertising. There's nothing wrong with them doing that. What Amazon doesn't mention are the millions of dollars it charges the toy industry just to be considered for a spot on that guide. And they don't write paid ad or sponsored because the ads are they know that ads that say that are not perceived to have the same value. So when Amazon was contacted, they said it's like the payments that brands make to be included in advertising circulars or get prominent shelf space. Maybe, maybe not, but the more sponsors pay, the more products they can nominate to be on the list, and the more prominently the products will be featured on other areas of the website. And Amazon is aiming to sell at least $20 million in sponsorship for this year's list. They also published a summer list. So these are supposedly independent, there also are, these supposedly independent reviews that you can turn to. But now that, customer reviews are being gamed and social media influencers don't always say that they're being paid, it's kind of hard to know what's a legitimate review. And, what really sets Amazon apart from other retailers is how much it charges to be on these lists. And a narrow strip across the top of a web page on Amazon $500,000 per month in November and December, up from $150,000 for the rest of the year, according to Bloomberg. And Billboard, on top of the toys page, $300,000 per month, up from $75,000 the rest of the year. So similar spots on Walmart's toy page are $180,000 in November and $132,000 in December. I guess because late shoppers, I don't know. But according to ComScore, Amazon generates twice as much web traffic as Walmart, which would explain that discrepancy. But, you know, that's just so wrong.
They also have a long history of purchase history of their customers. So there's a bunch of data that they have that Walmart does not. But yeah, I'm in favor of labeling advertising as advertising.
Me too.
Put me on that list.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So speaking of marketing, I guess this is from a Wired article by Emma Gray Ellis, who writes about Generation Alpha. Have you heard this phrase?
I have
Generation
not.
Alpha. So I've been seeing it pop up for a while now, and I kind of roll my eyes at it. Obviously, they've named this most recent Generation Z. So apparently, you need to go
to be A.
the beginning of the alphabet to have come up with another generational name. But it is supposed to represent Generation Alpha is supposed to represent the children of millennials born, according to this article, between 2011 and 2025. You know, a generation is about 20 years span. The time it takes from you to be born to you to procreate, to have another generation, create another generation, right? But this phrase, Generation Alpha, apparently was coined by social researcher Mark McCrindle, who is the founder of marketing and trend forecasting firm McCrindle. So that should give the game away. There's some researchers that are cited in the article, Adam Nagy and Attila Kolsky, who balk at McCrindle's generation naming efforts. They made an investigation of Generation Alpha and came away unimpressed. They are quoted in the article saying, Generation Alpha is only a fiction. By definition, an age group will become a generation if they have common experiences, concepts, and language or vocabulary that differs from the previous generations. We still have no representative data of the characteristics of Alpha, only speculations about what their common cohesive force might be. He said that naming the Generation Alpha is something akin to an astronomer naming a star after themselves before even finding the said star. So this drives me nuts. It is clearly a marketing gimmick, and has no understanding of really how generations work, generational dynamics. Really, what, as in addition to what the research has said about how generations are defined, they share common cultural touchstones. So for boomers, BL, it's the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It's the Vietnam War. It's Woodstock. It's things like that. For Xers, we're the latchkey kids. So divorce. There's Tiananmen Square was one of the cultural touchstones. Millennials had 9/11 and the Iraq, the war on terrorism. So there's things that form their shape of their view of the world that they all have in common. That's what makes a generation have a character that you can define, not just some marketing trick.
Well, didn't you write a post called Generation Z is Stupid?
Yes, I did. And thank you for mentioning that. I will include that in the links.
So does that bring us to Shiny Objects?
It does. What do you got?
This is a great one. This involves Google Arts and Culture and Google Books. And this is an interactive experiment. This is celebrating the 15th anniversary of Google Books. And they have a new desktop design. And so it's made, it uses machine learning to connect images with book suggestions. So you look at a picture of an elephant, for example, and you can find, you're shown rare and likely iconic books like The Elephant Man or Agatha Christie's Elephants. Remember, if you click on a title, you get a page with a summary and a link to Google Books where you can get information, including the description. You get the author's history and their other works, reader reviews, options for purchasing or borrowing the book from your local library, and it identifies the one near you. There's bibliographies and a citation tool for anybody who's doing research. And so also, if you just click on the image, you can see a story about the image. It's wonderful.
I love that. That's anything that recommends books to people is a positive in my book. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I know. I think that's just great. And the way they do it is beautiful. I'll link to it. It's gorgeous.
Awesome. This is from TechCrunch's Ingrid London, who writes that LinkedIn has rolled out or is rolling out a new feature called events. So you can create an event now on LinkedIn to invite people to meet up and get together in physical space. It appears a menu item. It started rolling out on October 17 in English-speaking countries. There's plans to expand it further to non-English markets soon. It also has security features, so you can report and block suspicious events. The article says that LinkedIn is applying AI algorithms to screen the events for bad actors and bogus content, which then get assessed by human reviewers. So we'll see how that works. But it looks pretty cool. I'm going to try it. I've been thinking of planning a happy hour for some marketing professionals in town. So I think I'll use that to do it, and I'll report back when I do.
So that's a great idea for you to do that. That's LinkedIn's version of Meetup, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Meetup has some really wonderful things going on. So, and I'm sure they'll find a way to monetize it.
I can imagine. Yeah, people. There's data now about people who go out to physical events. So there you go. And I got another one. This is fantastic and a bit geeky. So I hope you're sitting down.
We love geeky, Dave.
So in episode number 214, we discussed Google Optimize, which is Google's free tool for doing A/B and multivariate testing on your website. They have added a new feature to Google Optimize that allows you to target a parameter within a URL. So when you got a URL that has a question mark at the end of it and a bunch of stuff after it, you'll often see UTM_source or UTM, yeah, those UTM codes. So you can target now those UTM codes. So if you're running a social media campaign, for example, you tag your link with these UTM codes, and you can now set up Google Optimize to personalize the experience based on traffic from that tagged URL. So it gives landing pages for your campaigns a lot more flexibility. So you could now swap out based on a campaign code, on a UTM parameter for a campaign. You could swap out the image for the landing page. You can swap out the language for the landing page. So you could really customize the experience based on specific ad campaigns, and you don't have to build a bunch of different landing pages if you want to get that specific about it. It also allows you to, you can use it in your Google ad campaigns, obviously. So you could target very specific search phrases for personalization. You think about the way search works, and search ads in particular. Somebody searches for something, they know what they just searched for, that query, those words they used in that query are in their head. They scan the results for those words that they just searched for. They find the most relevant link. They click to that, they go to the landing page, and then they search again on the landing page for those words that they just searched for. Now with this, you can personalize that experience to make it hyper relevant because you've got the exact search phrase that people are using. And you can do it very easily through Optimize. I haven't tried it yet, but I definitely will. So
a UTM code is customizable?
No, the experience. So you can change out what's on the landing page of your website based on what based on the UTM code. So if you have a campaign that you're running, let's say I want to target dentists, and I have a landing page that's about website development, and I want to target dentists, I want to target architects. I can have a campaign with a UTM code for dentists, and once those people go to the page, that landing page, it has imagery related to dentistry, it has language related to dentistry. The same page now, if I have a UTM code for architects, I can now swap out the image for architectural images with language on the page that
I get
talks
that.
architects.
I get that. What I'm asking you is, can you create your own UTM codes?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, they're not just automatically generated.
Well, for Google Analytics, there's a protocol for using it. So the UTM_source is like Google. UTM_campaign is whatever you want it to. I mean, you can the value of that UTM parameter you can change.
Oh, that sounds very cool. Way over my head, but I get what it's for.
Yeah.
So does that bring us to politics?
It does.
Well, unless you live under a rock, you probably know that there was a controversial meeting with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats and Trump. And this is from a Washington Post story by Maura Judkis. And the photograph of Pelosi and Trump is a work of art, and some people think it's actually a masterpiece. So the image of Nancy Pelosi standing up in a meeting with Trump is just so beautiful. And on Reddit, they call the image the meeting, and it sounds poetic and it sounds politically neutral. And one Reddit post said it's the detail on all the faces that make it like the Last Supper. So of course President Trump titled it "Nervous Nancy's Unhinged Meltdown" when he tweeted the image on Wednesday, but she obviously saw it in a different way because she made it the cover image of her Twitter account. So whatever should be called, it's instantly iconic, especially if you're a supporter of Pelosi, because it's this woman in a defiant posture, and it comes across as a woman standing up to the president. And Trump didn't credit the artist in his tweet, but she was later identified as the White House photographer Sheila Craighead. And I think that it's so freaking cool that Nancy Pelosi put it as her Twitter header. She has a sense of humor.
Yeah, so she's the only woman at the table. She's the only woman at the table. She's the only person standing up. So she is both literally and figuratively standing up to Trump. And the generals, all the military men to the right of Trump, have their heads down. They're looking at their hands folded in front of them.
They're
embarrassed and ashamed. Because they know that she's right and he's wrong.
And across the table from her he's clearly making faces. So it's a beautiful photograph. I kind of like a copy of it.
What's stunning is why the White House released that, why they thought that made sense was beneficial to them to release that.
He called it her meltdown. He said he was having a meltdown, but it was quite clear it was he who was having a meltdown. And, as usual, and there's a trending hashtag that says the president is a baby, is a crybaby.
So Nancy Pelosi trolls Trump. Elizabeth Warren trolls Zuckerberg.
This is so great.
This is from a Guardian article by Julia Carey Wong. And basically, you've probably heard of it if you haven't been living under a rock, that Elizabeth Warren, Democratic senator, is running for president. After Facebook was taking heat all week about allowing politicians to lie in their ads on Facebook, she took out a series of Facebook ads, her campaign did, that made false statements about Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. One of the ads read, "Breaking news, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook just endorsed Donald Trump for re-election," above a photo of a recent Oval Office meeting between Zuckerberg and Trump. And the copy, or the landing page copy, went on to clarify that didn't happen and everything, but that's how you troll.
That was a brilliant move on her part. That really was. Yeah. But, the thing about Facebook is that it is not a social network. It's an advertising network. And if brands would withhold their money, so Facebook would go away. So Zuckerberg can, piss and moan all he wants about, whatever it is he's talking about or apologizing about this week. But the bottom line is advertising money is still going there, millions and gazillions of dollars of it. And I think people are spending less time there these days. So something's going to give at some point, hopefully soon.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not spending nearly as much time as I used to. I mean, there's a ton of benefits for social media. And there was a lot of promise at the beginning, but clearly nobody thought of how it could be used for ill. And oh my God, it has been. There was an article, I can't remember where it was from, but the headline was "Social Media is destroying democracy," and it's kind of true.
Well, I mean, people have always been nasty, and they're just having a bigger forum for their nastiness at this point. But
it is the reach.
Back to the need for digital literacy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, let's roll this up with the daily numbers. This is consumers are opting for reputable news sources, BL.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, among more than 2,000 U.S. adults surveyed, 2 in 5, 40%, report that in the past years they are relying on more reputable news sources. 34% of U.S. respondents said they are no longer using sources with more questionable reputation or accuracy. This mistrust has also led respondents to take the initiative to delve deeper into the validity of a news story. 47% of respondents said they check the accuracy of a story by comparing multiple sources. This is from Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism, so I'll put a link to it in the show notes, but there's hope.
Yeah, I wonder how many people say that because they want to sound smarter than they are.
I don't know. I mean, you got to give people some credit.
I don't know.
I say people adjust. We had this conversation before last week, maybe. People adjust to their environment when they learn about the environment. I think that is kind of happening. You yourself said you're not spending as much time on Facebook. Neither am I.
Well,
right?
The reason I don't spend time on Facebook is because of the political advertising, is because of the continual mistakes, he calls them, but by Facebook. I mean, every time they get caught, I'm so sorry. If we compile how many times Zuckerberg's been sorry in the last 10 years, I'm sure it's a lot of times, and yet nothing really changes there. But anyhow, that brings us to the end of episode 285 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And if you want to find us, you just search Beyond Social Media Show. You can find the video from this show and the audio and the links to everything we talked about at beyondsocialmediashow.com/285. I'm here with my charming co-host, David Erickson, who is D. Erickson on Twitter. He's on Instagram as DE Erickson, and he's on YouTube as eStrategy, and he blogs at the wonderful eStrategyblog.com. I'm BL Ochman. I'm What's Next on Twitter. I'm What's Next blog is my blog. What'sNextBlog.com is my blog. On YouTube, I'm What's Next blog. And my puppy's Instagram, Lucy the Rescue Puppy, is growing every week. Take a look. And Beyond Social Media Show, again, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. And follow us on Twitter on BS Media Show. And we'll be back next week. Same time, same station. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching.